The sky above New York City turned dark at noon. Not from clouds or storms, but from ships. 300 massive warships blocked out the sun. Each one was larger than anything humans had ever built. They hung in the air like metal mountains, silent and terrible. Commander Vorth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He watched the human city below with amusement. Tiny vehicles stopped moving. Tiny people poured into the streets, looking up with their tiny eyes. "Begin broadcast," he ordered. His voice echoed across every radio, every television, every phone on Earth. It was translated into every human language simultaneously. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vorth of the Dreth Hegemony. Your planet now belongs to us. You will surrender your governments, your resources, and your bodies to serve the Conclave of 12. Resistance will result in death. You have 1 hour to comply." He ended the broadcast and smiled. "This will be over by dinner," he told his officers. He was wrong. The first hour passed. No surrender came. Vorth was surprised but not worried. He ordered a demonstration of power. 3 Dreth ships fired on a small city in the middle of Earth's largest continent. The city vanished in a flash of light. 1 million humans died in seconds. Vorth broadcast again. "You have seen what we can do. Surrender now, or more will die." The response came not from governments, but from people. In every nation, in every language, the same message spread across human communication networks. No.Voreth did not understand. He had done this many times before. He had conquered species far more advanced than humans. They always surrendered after the first demonstration. Fear was a universal language, but humans seemed to speak a different language entirely. Within hours, something strange happened. Human nations that had been enemies for centuries suddenly stopped fighting each other. Old wars ended overnight. Resources were shared. Scientists who had worked for competing governments began working together. Factories that made consumer goods switched to making weapons. The entire planet unified in a single day. Vorth launched the ground invasion on the 3rd day. 50,000 Dreth soldiers landed in major cities across Earth. They expected frightened civilians. They expected quick surrender. They found hell. In Moscow, Dreth soldiers marched through empty streets. They thought the city had been abandoned. Then the buildings exploded. Human fighters emerged from underground tunnels, from rooftops, from sewers. They attacked with everything they had: guns, explosives, fire, knives. When they ran out of ammunition, they attacked with their hands. The Dreth were stronger. The Dreth were better armed. The Dreth killed many humans that day. But for every human that fell, 2 more appeared. And the humans did not stop. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. By nightfall, the Dreth forces in Moscow had been completely destroyed. The same story repeated across Earth. In Beijing, human soldiers collapsed buildings onto Dreth positions. In London, civilians formed human chains to block Dreth vehicles while fighters attacked from behind. In São Paulo, a hospital was converted into a fortress. Doctors and nurses fought alongside soldiers. Voreth received the reports with growing disbelief. How is this possible? He demanded. They are primitives. Their weapons are inferior. They should be running in fear. His second-in-command, a veteran of 12 conquests, shook his head slowly. They are not running, Commander. They are hunting us. The Dreth tried a different approach. They began bombing cities from orbit. If humans would not surrender, they would simply be destroyed. Massive areas of Earth were reduced to ash. Tens of millions died. But the survivors did not surrender. They dug deeper. They hid in mountains and forests and caves. They came out at night to attack Dreth positions. They turned every piece of rubble into a weapon. They turned every destroyed building into a trap. And something else happened. Something Voreth had never seen before. human scientists began studying captured Dreth technology. Within weeks, they understood the basic principles. Within months, they were building their own versions. Dreth weapons appeared in human hands. Dreth shields protected human positions. Dreth engines powered human vehicles. The humans were not just fighting. They were learning. They were adapting. They were evolving. On the 6-month anniversary of the invasion, something emerged from a hidden facility in the mountains of Asia. It was a ship. Not large, barely a fraction of the size of a Dreth cruiser, but it was human-made. And it worked. The first human warship rose into orbit and destroyed a Dreth patrol vessel. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. That night, humans across the planet looked up at the sky and saw something new. Hope. Production accelerated. Factories worked around the clock. Volunteers lined up by the millions. Not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to. Every human who could hold a tool built something. Every human who could hold a weapon trained to use it. By the 1-year anniversary of the invasion, humanity had a fleet. Not a large fleet. Not a powerful fleet by galactic standards. But it was theirs. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood on the bridge of the first human battleship, the U.S. Vengeance. She was 52 years old. She had lost her husband and her son in the bombing of Tokyo. She had lost everything. She looked at the Dreth fleet still orbiting Earth, still blocking out the sun, still believing they were in control. "All ships," she said calmly, "begin attack." The battle lasted 3 days. Human ships were smaller and less powerful than Dreth vessels. But humans flew like nothing the Dreth had ever seen. They took insane risks. They sacrificed themselves to protect each other. They rammed their ships into Dreth carriers. They kept fighting with half their systems destroyed. When it was over, the Dreth fleet was broken. Commander Vorith escaped on a damaged cruiser with only 30 ships. The rest were debris floating in Earth's orbit. Tanaka watched him flee. She did not celebrate. "Track his retreat," she ordered. "Plot a course to follow." Her officers looked at her in surprise. "Admiral, he is leaving. The invasion is over." "We won." Tanaka turned to face them. Her eyes were cold. "No, the invasion is over. But the war has just begun. They came to our home. They killed our families. They burned our cities." She looked back at the stars. "Now we bring the fire to them." The first human fleet beyond Earth's solar system launched 3 months later. 100 ships, crewed by volunteers who knew they might never return. They followed the Dreth all the way home. And the galaxy, which had ignored the warnings about humanity, was about to learn what that really meant. The great crystal station of Arkith floated in the darkness between stars. It was old, older than most civilizations that used it. The station served one purpose: to host the Conclave of 12, the most powerful alliance in the known galaxy. Today, the 12 species had gathered for an emergency meeting. Their representatives sat in a massive circular chamber made of glass and light. Each ambassador occupied a floating platform, arranged in a ring around the central speaking area. The air hummed with tension and curiosity. High Arbiter Kethran, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, called the meeting to order. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "We are here to discuss the species designated Sol 3, the creatures who call themselves humans." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most of the representatives had heard of humans. A young species, primitive, confined to a single solar system in the Orion Arm. They had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. They were nobody. They were nothing. Commander Vorith of the Dreth hegemony leaned forward on his platform. He was massive, covered in dark scales, with burning red eyes. The Dreth were warriors. They had conquered 17 species and enslaved billions. They feared nothing. "Why do we waste time on these creatures?" Vorith growled. "They are weak. They fight among themselves. They have barely left their own world. What threat could they possibly pose? Several representatives nodded in agreement. The humans were indeed primitive by galactic standards. Their technology was centuries behind. Their military was laughable. They would make excellent slaves, but one platform remained silent. One ambassador did not nod or murmur in agreement. Ambassador Veltoric of the Sindari sat very still. His blue skin had turned pale. His large, dark eyes stared at nothing. He remembered. He remembered everything. Ambassador Veltoric, the High Arbiter said, your species made first contact with the humans 40 cycles ago. You studied them. Tell us what you learned. Veltoric stood slowly. His thin legs trembled. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. I learned to fear them, he said quietly. Laughter erupted from several platforms. Commander Vorth slammed his fist against his console. Fear them? Look at you, Sindari. You are a race of cowards. You fear everything. Veltoric did not react to the insult. He had expected it. 40 cycles ago, we sent a research team to observe Earth, he continued. We watched them in secret for 10 cycles. We recorded everything. Their history, their wars, their behavior. He paused. His hands were shaking now. In their short existence, humans have fought thousands of wars. They have killed hundreds of millions of their own kind. They have invented weapons capable of destroying their entire world. And they have used some of them. The chamber grew quiet. They burned their own cities. They poisoned their own land. They starve their own children. They do terrible things to each other. And yet, Veltoric's voice cracked. And yet they survive. They always survive. No matter what happens to them, they come back stronger. Commander Vorth laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. So they are violent. So are we. This makes them easier to understand, not harder to defeat. Veltoric shook his head slowly. You do not understand. When we conquer a species, they surrender. They accept defeat. They bow to the stronger power. This is logical. This is how the galaxy works. He looked directly at Vorth. Humans do not surrender. We have records of human soldiers fighting to the last one. Not because they could win. They knew they could not win. They fought anyway. We have records of human cities being destroyed completely, and the survivors crawling from the ashes to fight with rocks and sticks. Veltoric stepped to the center of his platform. They have a concept they call spite. It means doing something specifically because someone told them not to. They will hurt themselves just to hurt their enemy more. They will burn everything they have just to deny it to a conqueror. The chamber was completely silent now. I am begging you, Veltoric said. Leave them alone. Do not touch their world. Do not threaten their people. Because the moment you do, you will have their complete attention. And you do not want their attention. Commander Vorth stood up. His massive form towered over his platform. Enough of this nonsense. The Dreth hegemony did not become the greatest military power in the galaxy by listening to cowards. These humans have resources we need. They have bodies we can use in our mines and factories. They are weak and divided. We will crush them in days. He turned to address the full conclave. I propose we authorize the Dreth hegemony to subjugate Sol 3. We will bring these humans into the galactic order. They will serve us, as all inferior species should. The vote was quick. 9 species voted in favor. 2 abstained. Only the Sindari voted against. Veltoric watched the results appear on the central display. His heart sank. Then it is decided, the High Arbiter announced. The Dreth hegemony will proceed with the subjugation of Earth. May the operation bring glory to the Conclave. Commander Vorth smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. This will be easy, he declared. I will personally lead the invasion fleet. In one cycle, Earth will belong to us." As the representatives began to leave, Valtoric remained standing. His voice cut through the noise of departure. "You are making a mistake." Vareth paused and turned back. "A mistake? I am about to give the Conclave a new slave species." "No," Valtoric said. His voice was steady now, resigned. "You are not conquering them. You are waking them. Right now, humans fight each other. They are divided by nations and beliefs and petty disagreements. But the moment you attack their world, you will give them something they have never had before. And what is that? A common enemy." Valtoric sat down slowly. "My people will prepare for what comes next. I suggest you all do the same." Vareth laughed one final time and left the chamber. Valtoric remained alone in the great crystal hall. He stared out at the stars and wondered which ones would be burning a few cycles from now. In the distance, beyond the reach of any sensor or telescope in the chamber, a small blue planet continued to spin. Its people looked up at their sky with wonder and curiosity. They did not know that 300 warships were being prepared for launch. They did not know that their entire species had just been marked for slavery, that they would find out soon. And when they did, the galaxy would learn the true cost of ignoring a warning. The Dreth homeworld of Krathver had never known fear. For 2,000 years, it had been the heart of an empire. Millions of slaves from 17 conquered species worked in its mines, its factories, its fields. The sky was always filled with warships coming and going. The Dreth were masters of war, and Krathver was their throne. Commander Voreth returned to this throne in shame. Of the 300 ships he had taken to Earth, only 30 came back. Of the 50,000 soldiers he had landed on that cursed planet, fewer than 2,000 survived. The High Council of the Dreth Hegemony summoned him immediately. "You have failed," the Supreme Commander said. His voice was cold. "You told us this would be easy. You told us humans were weak." Voreth knelt before the council, something he had never done in his life. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. These creatures, they are not like any species we have conquered. They do not think like us. They do not fight like us. They do not stop. Then we will send a larger fleet. We will burn their entire world." Voreth shook his head. "It will not matter. I burned their cities. I killed millions of them. It only made them stronger. Every time we hurt them, they become more dangerous. They feed on pain. They turn suffering into rage and rage into power." The council did not believe him. They ordered the construction of a new invasion fleet. This time, 500 ships. This time, no mercy. Earth would be reduced to a dead rock, and humans would be nothing but a memory. The fleet never launched. Before construction could be completed, human ships appeared in Dreth space. Nobody had expected this. Nobody had thought it possible. Humans had barely achieved space travel 2 years ago. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were small, but they had come anyway. Admiral Yuki Tanaka led the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet across the galaxy. 100 ships at first, then 200, then more, as Earth factories produced vessels faster than anyone thought possible. They followed a simple path. Wherever the Dreth had military bases, those bases disappeared. The first target was a Dreth refueling station on the edge of their territory. Human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, destroyed every defense platform, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The attack lasted 43 minutes. The second target was a weapons manufacturing facility on a small moon. Human Marines boarded the facility, captured the technology inside, and then destroyed the moon entirely. The Dreth workers there were given a choice: evacuate and live, or stay and die. Most evacuated. Humans were not interested in killing civilians. They were interested in ending the war. Target after target fell. Shipyards, communication hubs, training bases, supply depots. The Dreth hegemony had spent 2,000 years building their war machine. Humans dismantled it in months. The Conclave of 12 watched in horror. Emergency meetings were called on Varkith. The same crystal chamber that had approved the invasion of Earth now echoed with panic and blame. "This is your fault," screamed the representative of the Veleth Dominion, pointing at the empty platform where the Dreth ambassador used to sit. "You brought these monsters to our attention. You made them our enemy." Ambassador Veltoric of the Sindari sat quietly in his corner. He did not speak. He did not need to. Everyone remembered his warning. Everyone remembered how they had laughed. The High Arbiter tried to restore order. "We must unite against this threat. If the Dreth fall, we could be next. I propose a combined military response." "With what?" interrupted the Corvan delegate. "The humans are faster than us. They strike without warning. They know our communication codes. They know where our ships are stationed. They know everything." This was the part that terrified the Conclave most. Human intelligence operations had penetrated every level of their networks. Encrypted channels were decoded. Secret meetings were monitored. It was as if the humans had been watching the galaxy for years, learning its weaknesses, waiting for their chance. They had not been waiting, of course. They had simply been very fast at adapting. Admiral Tanaka reviewed the latest reports aboard her flagship, the U.E.'s Vengeance. 2 years had passed since the invasion of Earth. In that time, her fleet had destroyed 63 Dreth military installations. They had captured enough technology to advance human science by centuries. They had freed 4 enslaved species, who now fought alongside them. Her second-in-command, Captain James Okonkwo, handed her a datapad. Admiral, we have confirmed the location of their main military academy. It is on their 4th moon. 20,000 future soldiers trained there." Tanaka looked at the data. 20,000 young Dreth, not yet soldiers, not yet threats. Civilian population on the moon? Minimal. Mostly families of the trainees. Tanaka was quiet for a long moment. "Give them 12 hours to evacuate. Anyone who remains after that is considered military personnel." Some of her officers thought this was too generous. The Dreth had given no warning when they bombed Tokyo. They had given no warning when they burned Moscow. Why should humans show mercy? Tanaka answered that question simply. Because we are not them. The evacuation was completed with 3 hours to spare. The military academy was then destroyed completely. No one died who did not choose to stay. This pattern repeated across Dreth space. Humans attacked military targets with overwhelming force, but they always warned civilians first. They did not bomb cities. They did not poison water supplies. They did not destroy food production. The Dreth could not understand this. Neither could the rest of the Conclave. Why did they hold back? Asked the Corvan delegate during one emergency meeting. They could destroy the Dreth completely. They could burn their worlds and scatter their people. Why did they not? Veltoric finally spoke. Because they are not interested in revenge. They are interested in something much more dangerous. What? Justice. The old Sindari ambassador stood slowly. Humans have a concept of fairness, of proportional response. They believe that punishment should fit the crime. The Dreth attacked their military, so humans destroyed Dreth military. The Dreth killed human civilians, so humans hold the Dreth leadership responsible. But they do not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty. He looked around the chamber at the frightened representatives. This makes them unpredictable to us. We operate on power, on domination. on the simple logic that the strong take from the weak. Humans operate on principle, on belief, on something they call right and wrong. How is that dangerous? Valtorix smiled sadly. Because they will never stop. A species motivated by greed can be bought. A species motivated by fear can be intimidated. But a species motivated by belief, they will fight until they achieve their goal or they are all dead. And humans are very, very hard to kill. The final battle of the Dreth War took place above Krathvar itself. The human fleet had grown to 300 ships, the same number the Dreth had brought to Earth. The irony was not lost on anyone. The Dreth fought desperately. This was their home, their heart, their everything. But they were broken, their fleet scattered, their best commanders dead. The battle lasted 2 days. When it was over, human ships hung in the sky above Krathvar. For the first time in 2,000 years, the Dreth looked up and saw conquerors above them. But the humans did not conquer. Admiral Tanaka broadcast a message to the planet below. People of Krathvar, the war is over. Your military is destroyed. Your empire is ended. But we are not here to enslave you. We are not here to burn your cities. We are here to deliver a message. She paused. You attacked our home. You killed our people. You tried to make us slaves. There will be consequences. Your leaders will face trial for their crimes. Your weapons will be dismantled. Your empire will be dissolved. But your civilians will live. Your children will grow. Your future will be your own. She ended the broadcast. Captain Okonkwo stood beside her. Admiral, some will say we are too merciful. Tanaka shook her head. We are not merciful. We are practical. Dead enemies create martyrs. Living enemies who have witnessed our power create messengers. She looked at the planet below. Let them tell the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity. Let them tell everyone exactly how this war ended. And the Conclave? They supported the Dreth. They approved the invasion. Tanaka turned to face the stars beyond Dreth space. Somewhere out there, 11 other species waited in fear. The Conclave comes next. The crystal station of Varkith had never received human visitors before. It had existed for 10,000 years, hosting the most powerful species in the galaxy. Its halls had seen treaties signed and wars declared. Its chambers had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Now, it witnessed something new, fear. The Conclave had sent their invitation with trembling hands. They had heard what happened to the Dreth. They had watched the most powerful military in the galaxy fall apart in 3 years. They were desperate to make peace before humans turned their attention to the rest of the Conclave. High Chancellor Marcus Webb led the human delegation. He was 67 years old. His gray hair was cut short in military style. His face carried the lines of years of war and grief. He had lost his daughter in the initial invasion. He had buried her himself. In the ruins of what used to be Berlin. He walked through the crystal corridors of Varkith with 12 other humans behind him. They wore simple dark uniforms. No decorations. No medals. Just the emblem of United Earth on their shoulders. The Conclave representatives waited in the main chamber. All 11 remaining species were present. The Dreth platform stood empty. Their government had collapsed. Their representative had fled. The High Arbiter Kethran stood to greet the human delegation. His 4 silver arms were spread wide in what was supposed to be a welcoming gesture. Chancellor Webb, on behalf of the Conclave of 12 now 11, we welcome you to Varkith. We are honored by your presence and grateful for this opportunity to discuss peace between our peoples. Webb did not respond to the greeting. He walked to the center of the chamber and looked slowly around at each representative. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear. 3 years ago, I stood in my garden in Berlin with my daughter. She was showing me flowers she had planted. She was proud of them. They were beautiful. He paused. 2 hours later, there was nothing left. No garden, no house, no daughter, just fire and ash and silence. The chamber was completely still. 800 million humans died in the invasion. 800 million. Each one had a name. Each one had a family. Each one had hopes and dreams and people who loved them. They are gone now. All of them. Because you decided we would make good slaves. The Corvin delegate rose to speak. Chancellor Webb, we understand your pain. We are prepared to offer significant compensation. Resources, technology, territory. Sit down. The Corvin delegate sat down. Webb continued walking slowly around the center platform, making eye contact with each representative in turn. Compensation. You think you can compensate for genocide. You think you can pay for the murder of children. You think there is a price that equals 800 million lives. His voice grew harder. There is no price. There is no compensation. There is only accountability. He stopped walking and faced the full assembly. Our intelligence has been very thorough. We know exactly what happened in this chamber 3 years ago. We have recordings of every meeting, every vote, every word spoken. We know who supported the invasion. We know who provided resources. We know who stayed silent when they could have objected. Panic rippled through the assembly. Several representatives tried to speak at once. Webb raised his hand, and they all fell silent. This was another thing that terrified the conclave. Humans had no telepathic abilities, no technology for mind control, no biological advantages. They commanded obedience through sheer presence, through will. The Velith Dominion provided navigation data for Earth's solar system. The Corvin Republic sold targeting sensors to the Dreth. The Mandari Collective offered slave processing facilities. The Threx Empire promised to purchase human workers for their mines. Each species, he named, shrank back in their seats. The Zendari voted against the invasion and warned you this would happen. They alone are blameless. Webb nodded toward Veltoric, who sat very still on his platform. The rest of you are complicit. Every single one of you either helped or stayed silent when you could have spoken. The High Arbiter tried to regain control. Chancellor, surely we can reach a reasonable agreement. The Conclave has maintained peace in this region for 10,000 years. We have brought stability to countless species. Whatever mistakes were made, mistakes. Webb's voice cracked like ice breaking. You call the attempted enslavement of an entire species a mistake. You call the murder of 800 million people a mistake. He walked toward the High Arbiter's platform. Ambassador Veltoric warned you. He begged you to leave us alone. He told you exactly what would happen if you attacked Earth, and you laughed. You called him a coward. You voted for our destruction anyway. Webb stopped directly below the High Arbiter's platform. That was not a mistake. That was a choice. And now you will face the consequences of that choice. What consequences? The High Arbiter's voice trembled. What do you want from us? Webb turned and walked back to the center of the chamber. We have demands. They are not negotiable. He gestured, and one of his delegation members activated a holographic display. A list appeared in the air, translated into every conclave language. First, the Dreth hegemony is dissolved permanently. Their territory will be divided among the species they enslaved. Their military leadership will face trial for crimes against humanity. No one objected. The Dreth were already defeated. This was expected. Second, every species that supported the invasion will pay reparations. Not in resources or territory. In labor. Your scientists will work alongside ours. Your engineers will help rebuild our cities. Your people will serve humanity, not as slaves, but as partners in reconstruction. This obligation will last until we say it is complete. Murmurs spread through the assembly, but still no one dared object. Third, the Conclave of 12 is disbanded. Permanently, its institutions will be dismantled. Its records will be seized. Its authority will end today. Now, there were objections. The High Arbiter stood, all forearms spread in protest. You cannot do this. The Conclave has maintained order for 10,000 years. Without us, there will be chaos. War, destruction. Webb smiled for the first time. It was not a pleasant smile. Order. You maintained order by allowing the strong to enslave the weak. You maintained order by looking away when convenient. You maintained order by voting to destroy species that could not defend themselves. He shook his head. That is not order. That is tyranny with a comfortable name. And it ends now. Fourth. Webb continued reading. All species currently enslaved by Conclave members will be freed immediately. Their territories will be returned. Their people will be given resources to rebuild. Any resistance to this demand will be considered an act of war against United Earth. The chamber erupted. Several representatives shouted about their economies, their labor needs, their ancient rights of conquest. Webb waited until they exhausted themselves. I did not ask for your opinions. These are not suggestions. They are requirements. You will comply, or you will face the same fate as the Dreth. He looked at each representative in turn. You have 48 hours to respond. If you accept these terms, peace will follow. If you do not, he left the sentence unfinished. The human delegation turned and walked out of the chamber. No handshakes. No formal farewells. Just 12 humans in dark uniforms, walking away from the most powerful assembly in the galaxy as if it meant nothing. Because to them, it did mean nothing. Ambassador Veltoric watched them go. He was the only representative not shaking with fear or anger. He was the only one who had seen this coming. The High Arbiter collapsed into his seat. What do we do? We cannot fight them. We cannot run from them. What do we do? Veltoric rose slowly and looked at his fellow representatives. You do what they say. All of it, without hesitation. Without negotiation. You agree to every demand, and you hope that is enough. And if it is not, the old Sundari ambassador walked toward the exit. Then I suggest you pray to whatever gods you believe in, because humans do not offer second chances, and they never ever forget. He left the chamber to prepare his own people for what came next. The Conclave accepted all demands within 24 hours. The galaxy would never be the same. 10 years had passed since the fall of the Conclave of 12. The galaxy had changed in ways that would have seemed impossible before humans arrived. The Dreth hegemony was gone. Its grand palaces were empty. Its war machines were dust. Its leaders had faced trial on Earth, in courts where victims of 17 species testified to their crimes. Justice was slow and thorough. Every death was counted. Every wrong was named, but the Dreth people survived. Their civilians lived on their homeworld, free but humbled. They worked to rebuild not just their own society, but the societies they had destroyed. It would take generations. Humans did not care. They were patient. They had time. The other Conclave species had scattered in different directions. Some tried to continue as before, ignoring human demands. They learned quickly that this was a mistake. Human fleets appeared in their skies, not to wage war, but to enforce the new rules. Slaves were freed. Weapons were seized. Those who resisted found their military capabilities suddenly and permanently reduced. Most species simply complied. It was easier. It was safer. And slowly, something strange began to happen. They began to change. The Velith Dominion had built its economy on slave labor for 600 years. When humans forced them to free their workers, economists predicted total collapse. Instead, something unexpected occurred. The freed species, given resources and support, began to develop their own industries. They became trading partners instead of property. Within 5 years, Velith commerce had doubled. Within 10, it had tripled. The Kovan republics discovered that paying workers produced better results than whipping them. The Mendari Collective learned that innovation flourished when minds were free. One by one, the old powers of the galaxy rebuilt themselves on new foundations. And in the center of it all stood the Terran Accords. Humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had not claimed territories or demanded tribute. They had done something far more radical. They had created a new kind of order, built on a single principle: no species shall enslave another. The Accords were not a government. They were not an empire. They were simply a promise, backed by the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. Any species that joined agreed to 3 rules: no slavery, no genocide, no aggressive conquest. In return, they received protection, trade access, and a voice in shaping the future. 37 species had joined within the first decade. More requested membership. Every cycle. Ambassador Veltoric of the Sindari was now very old. His blue skin had faded to pale gray. His movements were slow, but his mind remained sharp, and his eyes still saw clearly. He had been invited to Earth. The journey took several weeks. Veltoric spent the time looking out at stars that now meant something different than they had before. The galaxy was still vast and dangerous. There were species beyond the old conclave borders who cared nothing for human rules. There were conflicts and challenges ahead, but something fundamental had shifted. Hope. That was the word humans used. Veltoric had learned many human words over the years, but this one took the longest to understand. Hope was not a plan or a strategy. It was a feeling, a belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Humans seemed to run on it like fuel. His ship landed in a city called Geneva. It was beautiful. Green parks surrounded gleaming towers. People of many species walked the streets together. Humans, Sindari, even a few Dreth who had earned the right to travel freely. Admiral Yuki Tanaka met him at the landing platform. She was older now, her black hair streaked with white, but she still carried herself like the warrior she was. She had retired from active command 3 years ago, but she remained one of the most respected figures in human society. Ambassador Veltoric, welcome to Earth. She bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Veltoric returned the bow. Admiral Tanaka, I am honored to finally see your world. It is not what I expected. Tanaka smiled. What did you expect? Veltoric looked around at the peaceful city, the laughing children, the busy markets. When I studied humanity 40 cycles ago, I saw only war, only violence, only destruction. I warned the Conclave about human ferocity. I told them humans were dangerous because they would not stop fighting. He paused. I was not wrong, but I did not see the full picture. I saw the fire, but not what the fire was protecting. Tanaka led him through the city streets. They walked slowly, matching the old ambassador's pace. Everywhere they went, people greeted them with warmth. Some recognized Veltoric from news broadcasts and thanked him for his warning years ago. Others simply smiled and continued about their day. This is what we were protecting, Tanaka said. Not territory or resources or power. This, life, family. The chance to wake up tomorrow and build something new. They stopped at a park overlooking a lake. Children played on the grass while their parents watched. Some of the children were human, some were not. They played together without noticing any difference. Veltoric sat on a bench and watched them for a long time. I have a question, he finally said. One that has troubled me for years. Ask. You could have destroyed the Dreth completely. You could have burned their worlds and scattered their ashes across space. They killed 800 million of your people. They tried to enslave your entire species. You had every reason for revenge. He looked at Tanaka. Why did you stop? Why did you show mercy? Tanaka was quiet for a moment. She watched the children playing in the distance. Do you know our history, Ambassador? Human history? Some of it. Enough to fear you. Tanaka nodded. Then you know we have done terrible things to each other. We have committed genocides. We have enslaved our own brothers and sisters. We have burned our own cities and poisoned our own lands. We have done everything the Dreth did, and worse, 1,000 times over. Her voice was heavy with old pain. We are not better than other species. We are not more moral or more enlightened. We are simply older in our cruelty. We have been hurting each other for so long that we finally learned the lesson. What lesson? That revenge creates more enemies than it kills. That hatred is a fire that burns the one who carries it. That the only way to truly win a war is to make sure no one wants to fight the next one. She turned to face him. We did not spare the Dreth out of kindness. We spared them because destroying them would have made us monsters. We spared them because their children did not choose this war. We spared them because one day the galaxy will face threats that make the Dreth look like children, and we will need allies, not ashes. Voltoric nodded slowly. You are building an alliance. We are building a family. A very large, very complicated family. It will take centuries, maybe longer. There will be conflicts and setbacks and failures along the way. But we have time, and we have patience, and we have something else. Hope? Tanaka smiled. You are learning. They sat together as the sun began to set over the lake. The sky turned orange and pink and gold. Veltaric thought it was perhaps the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. I have one more question, he said. Yes? How did you recover so quickly? The invasion destroyed so much. Your cities were in ruins. Your population was devastated. Yet within 10 years, you had rebuilt everything and more. How is this possible? Tanaka laughed. It was a warm sound, without bitterness. Ambassador, we have been doing this for thousands of years. We have burned our own civilizations to the ground more times than we can count. We have survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. We have endured famines and floods and fires. Every time, we crawled out of the ashes and started again. She stood and stretched her old bones. The Dreth thought they were introducing us to suffering. They did not understand. We were born in suffering. We were raised by it. We have spent our entire existence learning how to survive the unsurvivable. She offered her hand to help him up. That is what makes us dangerous. Not our weapons or our ships or our anger. It is the simple fact that we never stop. We never give up. We never accept defeat. No matter what the galaxy throws at us, we will still be here tomorrow, building and dreaming and reaching for the stars. Valtoric took her hand and rose slowly. He looked out at the city one last time, the lights coming on in windows, the sounds of laughter and music, the endless busy hum of life continuing. I am glad I lived to see this, he said quietly. I am glad I was wrong about you, not about the danger. I was right about that, but about the reason for the danger. What do you mean? The old ambassador smiled, the first genuine smile he had worn in decades. I thought you were dangerous because you would not stop fighting. Now I understand. You are dangerous because you will not stop caring. You will not stop building. You will not stop hoping. He looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. The galaxy tried to destroy you. Instead, it woke you up. And now there is no going back, for any of us. Tanaka nodded. No, there is no